Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing yet another, I guess, annual tradition now. Well, I wanted to do this monthly, but it's been a year since I last did a video like this, so I guess it's annual now, or maybe it'll become monthly, who knows. But this is some of the films I watched in April and May. I decided to combine both of these months because I was gonna do it originally for April of this year, but then there was one project in particular that I wanted to talk about, but it wasn't done yet during April. That should already tell you what that project was. But so I wanted to wait until May to, you know, cover that project when it was fully completed to see if my opinion changed by the time it ended, or just get my full thoughts on it. You know, I don't want to just cover half of what I've seen. I want to cover the whole thing and see how it all came together, go about it from that angle. And so now we get a combination of both months, which kind of works out because there was a bunch of interesting stuff I also watched in May. There's a bunch of interesting stuff I watched in April that I want to talk about. Again, this is not everything I watched in April and May. These are just some of the things that I watched. There's just some films that I don't think I had a lot to say about necessarily. If you would like to see everything that I watch, you fucking creep, you can follow my Letterboxd account, which is in the description down below. There you can see everything that I've seen. You can movie stalk me if you would, if you want to. If that's something you're into, you can do it. I've given you permission. So yeah, there's just some things that I don't have a lot to say about, and there's other films that will be covered in their own videos. I feel like Kevin Feige in front of his fucking presentation board with my hat on, announcing new videos that are coming out, but here's some of the videos that you can look forward to on my channel. So Sinners will be getting its own video when the film comes out on either VOD or Blu-ray, whichever one has the IMAX scenes. I would also recommend you rewatch my Nope video in preparation for the Sinners video whenever that comes out. Thunderbolts will also be getting its own video, hopefully it'll get its own video when it releases on VOD. All of the Mission Impossible films will be covered in one long video soonish, hopefully. I have not started writing that one yet, but I do plan on covering all of them in one big video. That one might not be out for a little bit. I'm hoping to get it out soon, like I said, but we'll see when it comes out. And finally, Andor and Rogue One will be getting its own video. It's going to be one video covering both of them. There is a lot to talk about there that yeah, if you've seen Andor, you know what I mean. But with that being said, let's just hop into not everything, some of the things that I watched in April and May. So the first thing I want to talk about is Death of a Unicorn, which is a strange one to talk about because it's not good. The best way I can describe it is it feels like an SNL sketch of an A24 film. It reminded me a lot of what if Wes Anderson made a horror film, that sketch on SNL.
Hey, wow, we're saved.
Who here are the murderers? I see.
I think a better way of describing it is just like it feels like a fake A24 movie that just so happened to be made by A24. You know, people on Twitter have complained that A24 is all about cults and eating the rich, and that's what their horror films are about, even though that's just like 4 of their horror films, not including this one, of course. But yeah, this film is very much one of those like, oh, eat the rich, and it's not about a cult, so I guess that makes it different, right? Specifically, this one is talking about the pharmaceutical business, but besides it just being like, oh, they're bad, there's not much else here. That's really it in terms of its message. It's also a film that takes itself very seriously for a lot of the runtime, and it creates this idea that the film thinks it's much deeper than it actually is, which ultimately hurts the film for me. There's just not enough here that really justifies that darker tone, especially with such a goofy premise where it's like, oh, there's a unicorn out for revenge. And we're gonna take it really seriously. Like, what? I don't. No. Nuh-uh. That is to say, when the film does eventually turn into a all-out gore fest, it does become much better. And there actually is some well-done gore and visual effects. If you follow my TikTok account that I don't use anymore, you would know that I really enjoyed Terrifier 3 because of the gore effects. I thought the practical effects were really, really nice. And here it's more, it's definitely more digital effects, but the digital effects we do get are, you know, it is quite gnarly. It is very violent. But the one thing that pissed me off about it was that the film itself is just shot so dim. It's so dimly lit that you can't see half of what's going on screen. A character gets ripped in half, and it is damn near impossible to see the effect. And like, you know, there's a way you can light your scenes at night where you can see things, right? Like you can do that. I hate this new way of filmmaking where everything's backlit or flat or has to look realistic, and if it's dark, the screen has to be completely black, because that's how we end up with this problem. Can I just see my gore in my gore movies, please? Is that too much to ask? Anyway, it's just okay. If you like The Menu and you want to watch The Menu but not as good, then you can watch this. It's not terrible, but it's also not terribly exciting. Hey, you see what I did there? It's not, it is.
Here's hoping we kill Bigfoot on the way home, huh?
Alright, so next one is Gran Turismo. I feel like I need to talk about this one because me and this film have had beef for about a couple years now. I don't remember when this came out, but I have beef with this film for no other reason other than the trailer. I've seen the trailer for this so many times in theaters, and this trailer is fucking long too.
You puked on my lawn.
I remember for a while, Regal would play like a 5-minute special featurette where it was like a bunch of interviews mixed in with the trailer itself, and that shit felt like it went on forever. And there's already so many trailers before a movie as it is, but just having like a 5-minute thing before it, along with it, I should say, just made it that much more unbearable. And this is a guy that gets excited when Nolan drops a new IMAX teaser. But you know, it's just I don't know. It just really irked me every time I saw this trailer, and so it kind of put me off of it. But I've seen it now, and it's okay. It's fine, and I don't mean that in a negative, like Death of a Unicorn, it's fine. I mean that in its, I had fun watching this. A lot of this film is carried by David Harbour, who is just so infectiously charismatic in everything I've seen him in. He's just, you know, a true movie star at this point. Every line he delivers is just absolute gold. He steals every single scene. I love the guy. He's fantastic in this. Again, he's playing another grumpy kind of father figure, but he fits that role really, really well. I can't imagine anyone else playing that part besides him. The racing scenes are also shot incredibly well. I've never played the video game. I'm not a huge gamer, but it's shot in a way that does replicate that video game aesthetic. It places you in the mind of Jan, who is, you know, our main character, the guy that goes from gamer to racer. And it's a really unique way to film these sequences. Just, it makes it very flashy, very stylistic. I really enjoyed it. It also allows the film to really stand out amongst like the racing film genre. And it does, you know, it gives it its own unique visual style, its own unique visual aesthetic. So I thought it was great. Thought it was really, really exciting. But yeah, besides that, there's not much more. There's not much more to say. I just thought it was fun. I wanted to include it here so I can conclude this beef that I've had with the film, that only I knew about. This one-sided beef that I've had with it that I've never mentioned before in any other video. I can finally put that to rest, and we can move on. The movie is fun. All right, so Minecraft. So I watched this film in 4DX with a very limited knowledge as to what 4DX was. I knew it was similar to like those 4DX attractions like Shrek 4D or SpongeBob 4D, where it would like shrink you. Shrek will shrink you in Shrek 4DX. But yeah, I had the idea where it would shake you around and spit water at you. But what I didn't expect was how violent this thing is. Whenever an action scene started, the seats would throw you around. I swear to God, I almost fell out of my chair numerous times.
It feels just like a roller coaster.
On top of that, every time water shot out, it wasn't just like, oh, we're just gonna spray, like lightly spray water at you. The water would spray upwards in this giant stream and then would slowly fall back down on you. It was insane. Like there was just one moment, I remember this vividly, where I just saw like a wave just shoot up into the air and it just come sprinkling down. Unnecessary. I don't think what happened on screen justified, that, but, it was, crazy. Just absolute cranked up to the max in
Feels
terms
just
of
like a roller
water
coaster.
effects. On top of that, you got air bursts next to your head, so it feels like arrows or gunshots are flying past you. Every time there was lightning, they would try to simulate it in the theater, but instead it just looks like some asshole is taking a picture of the theater with his flash on in the back corner. I've never been more aware I was in a movie theater, and it was just so distracting. This format was so fucking distracting. I would do this again in a heartbeat. It was so much fun. I would not recommend you see a film in this format that you care about, because you would not be able to pay attention. Like, I'm just imagining myself trying to watch Fantastic Four. Reed Richards is trying to explain some multiverse stuff to me, and the chair is just going
like
all
a
over
roller
the fucking place, water shooting at me. So yeah, that I would not be able to concentrate. I would not be able to pay attention. I would not know what he's saying. But for a film like Minecraft, I think it's perfect for it. I do not remember a single thing about this movie. I remember thinking it wasn't particularly interesting or good. So that's my review of Minecraft.
Chicken jockey.
Okay, so this section is going to be quite long. I do think I could have made this part its own video, but I don't think it would have done very well. But I do still want to talk about it, at least to some extent. But this part will be quite substantial, so if you don't give a shit or you get bored of me, feel free to skip ahead. Actually, don't skip ahead. Just kind of mute me, and then just so we can get the watch time up. It's good for the video. It's good for the retention and the so that the video can get pushed out to more people. So just stick around. Just listen to me yap, or just put me on mute. I don't know, but don't skip ahead, please. I need the watch time. Okay. So Civil War. First off, I want to talk about the 4K Blu-ray and the Panasonic UB820 that I just got. Fantastic upgrade for my setup, my Blu-ray setup. It looks incredible. The film itself might be one of the best looking and sounding discs that I own. The visuals here are just, outstanding, and that Dolby Atmos track really helps to create an incredibly immersive experience, especially in the film's very bloody and violent third act, where it's just nonstop chaos. This is also one of the most haunting and intense films I've seen in a very long time. This film follows a team of journalists led by war photojournalist Lee Smith, played by Kirsten Dunst. They are traveling from New York to Washington, D.C. to try and get an interview with a fascist president whilst a civil war is going on across America. It was marketed as a standard, exciting action film, and that is just not what this film is at all. This film is much slower and more character-driven than what the trailers would have you believe. The central character is also not Kirsten Dunst's character. It is Kaylee Spaney, who is playing a young girl who is aspiring to be a journalist in the same vein as Kirsten Dunst's character. The second her character is introduced, you can see where the rest of the movie is going, and there's no surprise left. You can see everyone's character arcs. It's just all, it's so obvious, but that's not a problem, because the film itself is still incredibly effective. The film plays out as a road trip movie where our characters make little pit stops at different spots across America on their way to DC, and most of the time this leads them to places where the violence has already happened off screen or is happening somewhere in the background. There's something incredibly dark and disturbing hiding in almost every frame of this film. Whether that's bodies hanging or snipers from rooftops looking down on civilians, or just characters being indifferent towards horrible violence happening on screen, it just creates this eerie atmosphere that lasts for the entire runtime. It's also a film that isn't entirely focused on being political, but that doesn't mean that the film has nothing to say. The film is about the loss of humanity, and it's not subtle about it either. A character's shirt literally changes from white to black at the end. So that's the level of subtlety we're going with here. People have said this film is a celebration of war journalists. These people are smoking crack. The film condemns them and argues that they are just as complicit in the violence as the soldiers we see in the film. This is something that is really highlighted in the film's third act. There's a really great moment early in the film where Kirsten Dunst's character says she started doing her job to try and warn people about the tragedies happening and the suffering that war brings. But the way she says this line, it shows that she feels heavy guilt and responsibility for her previous work and the world the characters are living in now. That guilt is sort of carried through her entire performance for the rest of the film. And of course, the performances are all great. You know, Kaylee Spaney is just fantastic. We'll be talking about her in the next film that I'm talking about. Kirsten Dunst is always incredible. She gives a very subdued performance where her eyes tell most of what's going on underneath. But I do have to give a very special shout out to one Jesse Plemons, who is always a delight to see on screen. But he shows up for one sequence here and is absolutely fucking terrifying. He plays a cold, emotionless, psychopathic soldier, and his scene is one of the most intense moments I've seen in a film in a very long time. He has incredible scene presence, a true fucking movie star. I know I said that about David Harbour, but seriously. But he just fucking commands the scene. It's so great. I think the film itself is worth watching just for that one sequence alone. He is so good. This film, even though it might have been predictable from a narrative standpoint, it still managed to be incredibly effective for me, which is a sign of just incredible filmmaking. But yeah, this film is kind of a mixed bag online. People don't really know what to make of it. I personally think it's fantastic. It's one of my favorite films I've seen recently. I really enjoyed it. So if you're at all interested in it, I do think you should check it out. Just, it's slower, more character driven, but it is very intense. So just keep that in mind.
God bless America.
Okay, so Priscilla, this is a very difficult film to watch. It is, it's directed by Sofia Coppola. It chronicles the marriage of Priscilla and Elvis Presley. If you know anything about this relationship, you know how fucking bad it was, how fucking wrong every single aspect of it is. And this film does not shy away from the darker, creepier moments and more fucked up moments. It's a film about isolation. It's a film about loneliness. And then of course we just mentioned Kaylee Spaney being the center character of Civil War. She plays Priscilla Presley here, and this is like a performance for the fucking history books. This is just a career defining showcase here. It is not like a big showy performance. It's not a huge it's not big. It's very subdued. It's something very introspective. It's, you're watching someone lose what it means to be human for the first hour and a half until they become almost robotic. It's not a big showy performance, like I said, but it is one of the most distressing things I've seen in a very long time. It's like that idea of wanting to scream but just having no mouth. The film itself also does everything in its power to make Spaney, or should I say Priscilla, the character, as small as possible. And the most obvious way of making Kaylee Spaney look small is by putting fucking Jacob Elordi, who's like 6'9" or whatever. He just towers over her in every scene. But really the star of the show is the camera work and the blocking. People have made the argument that Sofia Coppola might be the best Coppola director, which is a wild thing to say from the family that, produced The Godfather. But no, I think you can look at this film and really make that argument. Like, every single frame of this is so carefully thought out. So there's so much emotion and story behind just the visuals alone. Like, this is a film where you could watch it with the sound off and you can just, the visuals itself will tell the story for you. It is, it's wonderful. It's so perfectly shot. There's multiple scenes here where Priscilla is just in a room full of other characters, and yet the film chooses to film her alone in these wide shots just filled with empty space. There's scenes where she's in a big mansion, but yet she's filmed alone. She's small in the frame and there's a bunch of empty space around her. You just get that she feels isolated. You get that she feels alone. Even in some of these lively situations, she feels lonely. She feels isolated. It sounds obvious, and when you say it, it sounds like a pretentious, obvious thing to point out, but I don't know. I've seen so many films recently where the blocking and the camera work isn't as, thought out as this, but watching something like this where every single frame is so, you can tell that there was a lot of thought put behind it. it makes a difference. It makes a huge difference in terms of emotion, in terms of character, in terms of even performance. You could tell that like Kaylee Spaney knew how to play Priscilla in certain moments, depending on how she was being filmed, what shot was being filmed, what the frame looked like. This is a film that I think you should watch if you're, interested in acting or directing or just cinematography. It's like I said, I keep repeating this, but every frame is so perfectly thought out. It does make a difference. Yeah, so that's what I got to say about that. I could go into spoilers, but I don't want to. It's not really spoilers if it's real life. But I'd rather not get into it. Again, this is a film that I think you should check out. And yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to move on because we have another big boy to round out this video.
I want a life of my own.
All right. The reason why this video got delayed a whole month, we're talking about Last of Us. Last of Us Season 2, to be exact. I'm not talking about Season 1, I'm talking about Season 2. I'll do my best to dance around spoilers, which is going to be very difficult, but I would do my best. I'm not going to reveal the big thing that happens this season, even though everyone probably knows about it. I will still refrain from it, just in case someone hasn't watched it yet. But before I dive into it, I do need to address something, especially since I have been talking about Kaylee Spaney for the past 2 projects. Do not come into my comment section and criticize Bella Ramsey's appearance, you fucking assholes. It is one thing to criticize a person's performance. It is something else when you bully someone. And do not come in here and tell me that Kaylee Spaney would have made a better Ellie. I will agree with you that the resemblance between her and Ellie in the game is really uncanny. I'll put a picture up so you can see the side by side, but you can't just cast based on looks. Like I do think that it in some respect it does matter, but you really have to look at the writing of the show. Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann have written the show version of Ellie to have like a childlike wonderment towards everything. Whether or not that's appropriate for the story being told this season is up for debate. I do have some thoughts on that. But that being said, Bella Ramsey captures that wonderfully to the point where I can't imagine someone else playing that part as these 2 writers have written it. If you want to criticize the words and the actions of Ellie, hurl them at Greg and Neil. Like they're the ones who wrote it. They're the ones responsible for it. So it's their fault. Fucking blame them if you have a problem. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Do not bully Bella. Do not bully Kaylee. Just don't be mean. Actually, these are 2 incredible artists. Let's support them. All right. Let's do that. Let's be supportive for once. Internet. Can we try that? Can we give that a shot, please? That being said, I thought this season was fine. I really thought this season was paced weird. It felt slow and fast at the same time. There were some episodes that were really exciting. Like I think episode 2 was handled extremely well. It was emotional. It was intense. It was exciting. It was wonderful. I love that episode. But there were other episodes where it felt like barely anything happened character-wise or plot-wise. And hey, I love me a good story that relies on vibes. Like I love Tenet. Don't ask me to explain Tenet, but I love the vibes of it. But for this story, for this season, for such a small season of only 7 episodes, I think we needed to move things along just a bit quicker. Episode 1 of this season, for example, does not have an inciting incident for this season. That comes in at the end of episode 2. So if you just watch episode 1, you would have no clue where this season, what the storyline of this season is going to be. And structurally, for a serialized TV show, that is a problem. You need to give some kind of direction for the season going forward at the end of episode 1, at the very least at the end of episode 1, and this lacked that. I think season 1, episode 1 is a fantastic pilot episode. It sets up who Joel is, it sets up who Ellie is, and at the end of that episode, what do you know the storyline now. Like you can see, like the plot is told to you. Joel has to get Ellie to Salt Lake. That's the story. You know that by the end of episode 1, and you can get excited for the future episodes to build upon that. Here it's like it's just a bunch of setup. There's no inciting incident. There's no conflict. There is conflict by the end of it, but you don't know what the story is going to be. So I think it does work better when you, like, I guess, binge it. You won't have that problem, but for a weekly release, I do think that is an issue. Also, the writing, I guess this goes hand in hand with the structure. It's not as strong as season 1, I thought. I do not like that Ellie was dumbed down this season, and I do not think she should have been more childlike. I'm not saying that because, oh, Ellie is older. I'm just saying that this story is dark. It is a dark story they're trying to tell. And I get that they're trying to balance it out with some humor and some childlike wonder, but I feel like Ellie needs to be meaner, especially for this tale. This is a revenge story, man. I want to see that darkness really come out. And besides one scene, she's actually more upbeat than you'd expect. It's strange. It's a strange way to approach it. But like I mentioned earlier, you know, Bella Ramsey, she really steps up to the plate, man, and she just elevates this script. That performance, her performance this season, I think is much better than season 1. And I already liked her a lot in season 1, but here she's like, every single emotional moment, she just crushes. You know, she's the lead this season, and she's just so charismatic. She's so likable. All the things that this script demanded her to be. Again, if you don't think that's appropriate for this story, that's Craig and Neil's fault. But here, she's just so charismatic. All of the actors in this are just incredible. You know, that I feel like that should go without saying. If you've seen it season 1, you would know that. Pedro continues to be great. I think he's actually better this season than in season 1. Some may find that difficult to believe for obvious reasons. But he is really strong this season. He really delivers on some of the emotional moments. He's given so many sort of tragic, heartbreaking scenes here, and he really delivers. And also, it's impossible to talk about this season and not at least mention Isabella Merced, who is just a fantastic new addition to the cast. Like Kaylee Spaney, like Bella Ramsey, I can see her going really far in the future. Again, another movie star in the making, just so charismatic, so likable. Every scene, she just steals. Caitlin Dever, another huge standout. She isn't on screen for a lot of this, but she is quite menacing when she is. You can just feel her presence throughout the entire season, which is, you know, a sign of a great performance. Again, I'm not going to mention any spoilers, which is going to be difficult to do, especially regarding her character, but yeah, she's great. Overall, I did like this season. Again, I don't think it's as strong as season 1. There is no episode here that I think reaches the heights of season 1's best episodes. Like, I don't think anything here reaches the heights of the pilot or the Bill and Frank episode. I did really like episode 2, and I do think that is my favorite of this new wave of episodes. But I don't know. I don't think it's quite there. You know, it doesn't quite reach the emotions of Bill and Frank. Which is a weird thing to say after watching episode 2, I mean. Again, oh my god, I hate having to dance around spoilers. But that being said, I still enjoyed the season for what it is. The actors, I do have to give a lot of credit towards the actors for really elevating the writing for a few moments. I do hope we get a darker season 3 that is willing to, you know, actually commit to the meaner, darker aspects of the story. I think that is something that the rest of the story that needs to be covered from the game really needs. I think we do need it to get dark, and we need it to get mean, and we need it to get terrifying. I do think that a lot of the horror elements were kind of stripped away from this season as well. The clickers were barely here. They were barely a threat. So I do hope we get some more zombie stuff, maybe. You know, yeah, I want some zombies in my zombie show. But yeah, I want something mean, man. I want to feel fucking bad by the end of the show, like how the game makes you feel. I want you to feel conflicted. So hopefully that's what season 3 will deliver, but only time will tell. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care, and I will see you guys in the next one. Long live cinema.
It feels just like a roller coaster.